I saw this comment on a recent video, and it really jumped out to me. PD has the toughest job on the planet supporting this team. So I thought for today's episode, why don't we just be a little bit of an optimist? Why don't we just look at things with a half glass full approach, getting ready for Week 11 as the Browns come back from their bye, because there is some good news out there for this team. And yeah, they lost season, sitting at 2-7, right? Going into Week 11. I understand there's not a whole lot to be excited about. There's not a whole lot of good things to tune into. And we're all going to watch on Sunday, but we're not going to be very happy about it. But I've got some positive news I want to share. So one piece of positive news is Jameis Winston is in line for his third start. Hopefully he bounces back after a rough start number 2. He's also going back to New Orleans, where he played 4 seasons. He made 10 starts for the Saints. And you better believe when Jameis returns to the Superdome, he is going to give an incredible speech. That's one piece of good news I have for you. We are in for an all-timer. It's Jameis going back to New Orleans. The only thing better than that will be Jameis going back to Tampa Bay. So, it may not be a great product once 1 p.m. hits, but we're all going to be in for an all-time Jameis speech. And honestly, that's going to get me through a lot of Sunday. I'll take it. So I can't wait to see what he cooks up. He says that it's off the cuff and it's not rehearsed, and it's probably not rehearsed, but it's got to be planned out a little bit. He's got to have some talking points on his notepad before he goes out there. So make sure you are ready for this speech, because Jameis going back to the Big Easy, guys, it's going to get butts and seats. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be legendary. I mean, that's how awesome Jameis's return speech is going to be. So what's your score prediction, by the way, for Browns versus Saints? Let me know down below in the comment section. More good news to get to in just a moment here, but rattle it off for me. Who you got and by how much? Now, as for some injury news, unfortunately, it's not very good. It's a long list of names. No, it's not. Not a single Browns player did not practice on Wednesday. I don't remember the last time the Browns had a injury report have full participation, at least limited for some, but have everyone back at practice. This is, I mean, like an albino. You never see this. Not a single Browns player did not practice on Wednesday. This is, I mean, life-changing news for those of us that keep up with this team when they're still 2-7. Jordan Hicks, by the way, is one player I want to highlight that was able to return to practice to begin Week 11. He missed the last 4 out of 5 games with an elbow and a fractured rib. He shared with the media today, being on Wednesday, that he spent 2 days in the hospital with an elbow infection after Week 3 and the game against the Giants. 2 days in the hospital? I feel like these types of stories just get glossed over way too quickly. 2 days in the hospital. If I'm 2 days in the hospital, everyone's going to hear about it and know about it till kingdom come. And I've got Jordan Hicks spending 2 days in the hospital trying to play and then realizing mid-game, I can only use one arm. We never give these players credit for what they put their bodies through and their ability to play through some really insane injuries. So happy to see Hicks back. This defense is definitely very happy to see him back because they are missing Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and we'll talk about that more in just a second. But really quickly, I do want to give a shout out to a new sponsor here at the Cleveland Browns Report, and that is Tushy. Holiday Gifting 101. Why drop 2 or 3 Benjamins on a cooler that'll get you some of the time when you can spend a fraction of the cost on a bidet your whole household will use all of the time? The Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet without the need for additional plumbing or electricity. People who have made the switch to Tushy use up to 80% less toilet paper. No more clogged toilets, save your money and your derriere at the same time. Now, take it from someone who grew up and lived in Japan, where they have mastered the art of hands-free bathroom trips. Bidets are a game changer. So give the gift of practical luxury that benefits everyone in your household. For a limited time, our listeners can get 10% off their first bidet order when you use code CHAT at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com/chat with promo code CHAT. And don't forget to give us a shout out while you're there and let them know who sent you. Go to hellotushy.com/chat for the best gift this holiday season. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. So getting back to Jordan Hicks and his return to this defense, I mean, for one, he has been a very reliable and consistent player for much of his career. This is the first season. Last year, he missed a little bit of time. Before that, he was nearly an Iron Man for much of his career. This year, he's missed nearly half of the games, but hopefully that's behind him because Cleveland really needs him back on defense. They are missing Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He was placed on IR 2 weeks ago, so he missed last week, the bye week, and this week. So he has to miss at least 2 more games with that neck injury if he ever gets activated off IR, which if they continue losing, they may decide, hey, there's real no point in bringing him back if he's still not even close to 100%. So excited to see Hicks come back on defense, pair up with Diabate a little bit. Winston Reed, I think, has played some really good football the last few weeks, filling in when called upon. So overall, this linebacker room has been cursed for the Browns. Really, since the return in '99, they've never had a long-term consistent player at that position, and I hope JOK can end that curse, but in order to do so, he has to be available, and that has been the biggest knock against him because he's a little bit on the smaller side, and his injury this year is a reflection of that, right? He gets hit by Derrick Henry, and unfortunately, those smaller players can pick up some extra hits, and that can lead to more injuries. But hopefully, hopefully Hicks can establish some consistency at the linebacker position for the remainder of the season because they really haven't had it, especially once JOK went down. Now, a last piece of good news is just something to refresh everyone's memories from. If you didn't watch our video a few days ago, history is kind of on the Browns side here. I went back and looked at all the interim head coaches since 2020. Darren Rizzi is the interim head coach down in New Orleans. They fired their old head coach a few weeks ago. So Rizzi, all-time name, by the way, filling in for the rest of the year over Dennis Allen. And history is not very kind to interim head coaches in their second game. I mean, in their first game, they have a 5-6 record. The second game, it's not very far off, 4-6, and that's 11 games, 11 interim head coaches. Once Rizzi plays his second game, we'll be able to fill this in and be 5-6, same as first game, or 4-7. But the big difference I want you guys to pay attention to is the point differential. Plus 19 in the first game for interim head coaches, minus 22, about a 40-point swing. So there is a certain number or certain element or just pixie dust in the air when it comes to an interim head coach's first game as the locker room gets up for it. They want to play extra hard. There's kind of a revival in there and a fresh leader, and that wears off after the first game. And hopefully, since the Browns are catching Rizzi for his second game, they can capitalize on that. And then lastly, there are some other things I'm excited for to watch the rest of the year. There's 3 guys who I want you guys to keep a close eye on. DeJuan Jones at left tackle. Can he solidify himself in a cornerstone position? And that way it frees up the Browns from needing to use their first-round draft pick on a tackle in a draft class that doesn't have a ton of great tackles. And then some bye-week changes I think we could be in store for. Some more youngins, right? Mike Hall, Isaiah McGuire. We've gotten a good dose of we got a great dose of Cedric Tillman lately, but we'll get some more of that. Dorian Thompson-Robinson should have his helmet on because after Jameis Winston's second start, the leash should not be very long for number 5. And then lastly, I want to see this coaching staff and the players on the field get their act together in the secondary. What we have seen through the first 9 weeks is, not even the Cleveland Browns secondary. It's someone else. It's imposters. It is someone else wearing the numbers 21, 0, and 23, especially for the guys wearing 0 and 23. So let's get what was supposed to be an absolute pillar of not just this defense, but this team back on track. So going into 2025, we don't feel like we need to tear down another room because that's already going to happen with a bunch of other rooms, and rebuild the corners. Before we sign off, I just want to show some love to the Brown and Orange Club. Tim Green, you guys, you have no idea how incredible Tim Green is and how generous he is. I'll expand on that in a future watch party. Mike Dibble, Jeremy Stallman, slow but sure, David Botner, Jared Brandt, James Harper, Papa T, Joseph DePorte, Mike, Ray Bidding, Dr. No, Eli Green, John Porter, Scorpion, Max T, Jacob Bay, Drunken Honky, Pistol, Kiki, Richard and James Belt, Nicholas, Ty Man the Buckeye. Thank you all so much for being with us every single watch party, hanging out with us, being active in the chat, supporting the channel. It means so much to me. You guys have no idea how much, I'm not going to get too emotional right now, but how much I love what I do, and it would not be possible without the consistent names and faces every single week.